Yeah. So
Yeah.
we get into the conversation right away. Now, of course, Ghana has had cycles of debt crisis over the decades. I mean, we've come from HIPIC in the early 2000s to today's IMF-backed debt restructuring. And I wanted us to just start from there. How did we get here again? And what are the root causes of our recurring debt challenges despite bailouts in the past?
Thank you, my dear brother, and let me thank you again for the opportunity given for such a discussion. Very, very important. And again, let me say very good morning to our cherished viewers and listeners. Why we go here? Since 1957, when Ghana became an independent economy, right away we took our destiny into our own hands. What it meant was that we had to raise enough revenue to, as it were, cover our expenditure, because at that time we were no more dependent on any other country, and so we really had to generate resources internally and use that resources generated to take care of our needs. Unfortunately, and as it happened to most of emerging market economies in the early 1960s, we were always tending far beyond what we were able to generate. So what it meant was that our revenue generating capacity couldn't match our expenditure, our needs. As a new independent Ghana, we needed roads, we needed schools. Kwame Nkrumah did all he could to borrow and also, as it were, to generate internal resources to do most of these things. Unfortunately, we couldn't, for example, emerge from that situation, because what in the 1960s, when Kwame Nkrumah was establishing factories and borrowing to construct roads, borrowing to establish factories, the idea was that you were growing the economy so that we would hit a time that we would become self-sufficient, that we wouldn't need to borrow again, but because we have so many factories already doing well in the country, then you can look within Ghana to mobilize enough resources to push the agenda of the country, development agenda, forward. But that never happened, and so it even got bad, especially in the 1970s, when because of petroleum hikes, I'm talking about getting to the middle of 1970s, there were global hikes in petroleum prices, and that notwithstanding, there was incessant military takeovers, and we also experienced serious drought. It didn't rain for most part of the 1970s, and when we got to 1980s, it was really even bad. For the first 3 years, it didn't rain, and so until that time, Ghana was the leading producer of cocoa in the world. But what happened? Our cocoa, most part of the cocoa farmlands got destroyed by bushfires because it didn't rain for so many years, and we really suffered. And so that was how come exactly on the 20th April 1983, we decided to go to the Bretton Woods institutions for assistance, and that is the economic recovery program that was being implemented by the Bretton Woods institution. And when I talk about Bretton Woods institutions, I'm making reference to World Bank and IMF. And so they had initiated economic recovery program. We joined, and the anticipation was that we would do well to generate more resources to push the development agenda of the country forward. Rightly so, in 1984, 86, 85, 86, we did very well. Ghana started doing very well when we this particular initiative, and so our debt at that time, that was way beyond the scars, came down because we had a lot of inflows, a lot of grants, a lot of financial assistance, especially from World Bank and IMF, and so things started getting better. But unfortunately, ERP also came with its own problems because with ERP, you had to, as it were, go market. To go market meant that Ghana government was supposed to take itself out of production and rather push the production agenda on the private sector. And so we became market economy, and right away, private sector became the main engine of growth, and Ghana government was supposed to stay aside. And so those were the days we saw Ghana government selling state enterprises, so you wouldn't be part of production. And so Ghana government had hotels, big hotels. Most of the state-owned enterprises were sold. And Ghana government has so much money. And so if my memory serves me right, I think 1989 or so, for the first time in many years, Ghana recorded what is referred to as fiscal surplus.
Yeah.
Listeners, when we say fiscal surplus, that is a situation where at the end of the year, your total revenue has exceeded your expenditure. And once your total revenue exceeds your expenditure, there will be no need to go and borrow.
Right.
What I'm talking about is that since all the years before this particular year, we were always spending more than we generated. And anytime you spend more than you generate, you have to go to the market to borrow because the budget must balance at the end of 31st December every year. The fiscal budget, the budget revenue expenditure must balance. And so if by 31st December you have spent 3 cedis and you could generate only 2 cedis, then you must definitely have to look for the remaining 1 cedi to balance it before we enter the new year. And that's how come we borrow. And so the cycle continues. In fact, since that year, because that year when we had a fiscal surplus, the whole thing was that because we have so many state-owned enterprises, and so the revenue, we have so much revenue inflows from the sales of state-owned enterprises. It wasn't because we have done anything so unique or anything sustainable. Sustainability here means that that source of income from sales of state-owned enterprises, that's 1 year affair. You don't have so many state-owned enterprises that you were going to sell every year. And so since then, every year we've been recording fiscal deficit. And when you record fiscal deficit, what it means is that you have spent more than you generated, for which reason you must have to go to the market to borrow to balance the budget. And so since that particular year till today, every year we've been recording fiscal deficit. And the moment you record fiscal deficit, it means that you are accumulating debt. It means that you are compounding the debt. If you were owing 2 cedis, and this year you have recorded fiscal deficit, it means that your 2 cedis must go up. And that is why at the time President Rawlings was hesitant, that is the year 2031 December, our debt to GDP ratio has ballooned to 182%. Let me explain this. And so we have come to understand that it doesn't matter what, you definitely have to borrow, because we always spend more than we generate. And indeed, that is not something that is specific to only developing countries or emerging market economies. Indeed, the biggest economy in the world, U.S., has also been recording deficit. Indeed, this particular year, 2025, U.S. projected fiscal deficit is $1.3 trillion.
Wow.
$1.9 trillion. That's how much U.S. Has projected. The total expenditure of U.S. this year, the total projected expenditure this year over the revenue in U.S. is $1.9 trillion. That is huge. That is huge. And so it tells you that almost every country, apart from the oil-rich countries that mostly would record fiscal surplus, almost every country records fiscal deficit. But how do you deal with your fiscal deficit situation. Our situation is very different from United States of America. U.S. Borrow so much from the firms, the corporate, but from the domestic. They borrow so much from domestic, but in our situation, it's not so. We rather go to the external market to borrow so much, and when it comes to payment, it becomes a problem because most of those are paid in dollars, euros, and anytime you begin to pay, it affects your exchange rate, and it also brings other cascading, problems, And so let me take it from the year 2000, while we went to where we were. The year 2000, before the year 2000, 1998, 1999, global commodity prices had gone down. I'm talking about gold, oil, and unfortunately, since 1957, we are still selling raw gold. Ghana is still selling raw cocoa. Ghana is still selling raw timber. We haven't added value to most of these raw things that we produce. And so we sell them cheaply. Cocoa, Switzerland, Holland, those countries, they will come and buy cocoa so cheaply from us. They'll go and transform it into chocolate. Then we will go there, buy and bring them here. That has always been the cycle. And so value addition is very bad. And so anytime commodity prices go down, our economy, the inflows from those resources, commodities tends to affect revenue generation. And so Rollins had a serious problem at that time. And because of that, your total debt to GDP ballooned to 182%. Let me tell viewers that Ghana belongs to association of a particular regional economy, ECOWAS. We call it ECOZone. ECOZone. We belong to the ECOZone. And the ECOZone, we have what we call convergence criteria. This convergence criteria, we are all trying to use to use a common currency. To use a common currency, we have worked out certain macroeconomic indicators that every country is supposed to attain. And so the day we get up and we hear that all the countries in the ECOZone have met these standard macroeconomic conditions, then the grounds will be so fertile for us all to use one currency. And one of the set conditions is that you should maintain debt to GDP ratio not more than 70%. Not more than 70%. What it means is that your total debt divided by your GDP multiplied by 100% should not go beyond 70%. If it goes beyond 70%, we say your debt has become unsustainable. And anytime we hear our debt has become unsustainable, it means that when you cross over that bridge, when you cross over that threshold, you saddle yourself with problems of debt payment in such a way that you are not able to, as it were, spend on things that are so much essential to the welfare and general well-being of your people. Let me repeat that. Anytime you hear a country that has reached unsustainable level, it means that at that level, interest payment has taken over a chunk of your expenditure to an extent that you are not building roads, you are not building hospitals. Those things that your people need, you are not spending so much on education. You are not paying increasing salaries of workers. Those things that your people need to live comfortably, you have compromised.
Right. Doc, so is that how you would describe the current health of our debt situation in this country?
Currently, no. So, to the year 2000, when we hit our debt to GDP ratios hit 82% who were beyond 70%, and so we were in debt crisis. Another word is that when your debt to GDP ratio goes beyond 70%, we say you are in debt crisis, or we say your debt has become unsustainable. And that's what I explained, that once your debt becomes unsustainable, it means that you are spending so much on interest payment, and that has affected your expenditure on social activities, on social economic activities, infrastructure, those things that I mentioned. And when President Kufuor came to power, he took this opportunity to run then to the Bretton Woods institutions again and declared Ghana as a heavily indebted poor country, hippie country, because once your debt to GDP ratio has become unsustainable, then it has gone beyond 70%, then you are a hippie country. So immediately we went there. They started writing off our debt. At that time, our total external debt was over $6.4 billion US, and the day we qualified for the HIPIC program, they wrote off $4 billion. And so our debt situation became better in the year 2006, one of the best years for Ghana when it comes to debt. Our debt to GDP ratio declined from 82% it was in 2000 to 26. So, viewers and our listeners, the year 2006, our debt to GDP ratio was 26. So you see 26, 2006. It declined to 26.
Right.
It was, the lowest in over 30 years, and the fiscal space was so huge. When I talk about the fiscal space, it means that we didn't have that trouble to now generate or to think about our interest payment, but we could generate resources from other, or when we generate more resources, we can use it to, as it were, do so many other things without compromising on the present need of the people. So we can create other things to spend on without compromising on what currently the government is spending on. And that was the situation in 2006. And so everybody was happy. We have gotten what we've been crying.
Hello, Doc. All right, I think we lost Dr. Domfed there. We'll try and reconnect him, and then we can have the conversation. Very interesting revelations, and I'm sure many of us who don't really know some of these things, it's a good, it's a good conversation down memory lane, trying to get us to understand where we have come from as a country. We've not even gotten into the main meat of the conversation today, but it's very interesting, and I think that we this is something that we have to really pay attention to. I'll try and reconnect him, and then we can continue our conversation. But Doc has said a lot of things. He's told us where we've come from in terms of the days when we were struggling. Our debt levels, our debt to GDP levels reaching 182% and all of that. And now, that is beyond 70%. And he says when you're over 70%, then it means that you are declared your debt is declared. You are declared to be in debt crisis or unsustainable debt levels, and so that is something very important to note. We will get him back and then continue the conversation. But if you have any questions, any comments, please feel free to send us a WhatsApp on 0544321019, 0544321019. You can as well call me on 030395661, 030395661, and then I give you the opportunity to share your thoughts with us this morning. We're streaming live on Facebook at ZFMGH and also on YouTube at Z Multimedia. Please engage our post there, and then we can get you. We can read your comments for you. So we'll try and reconnect him, like I said, and then we can continue our conversation. But keep your messages coming in. You can send your comments, you can send your questions, and then we will read them for you. So we bring him back shortly, and then we continue. But enjoy Thy Grace, and we'll be right. All right, we have Doc back now. Hello, Doc. Are you with us now?
Yeah.
All right.
The line cut.
Yeah, we lost you for a few minutes.
Okay. So quickly,
okay.
I'm trying to say that by the year 2006, our debt to GDP ratio that was not supposed to go beyond 70% declined to 26, and that was a very good news for Ghana. And so that was a time we needed to have put in place mechanisms to control our expenditure while we also deepen revenue mobilization effort. And that's what is referred to as fiscal consolidation.
Right.
Trying to control your expenditure while you deepen the revenue mobilization effort. In other words, getting so many people who currently are not paying taxes to contribute to tax payment, and while you also judiciously use what you have, cutting corruption and trying to control public expenditure. Did we get it? No, because in the last 2 years of Kufuor administration, we saw debt to GDP ratio increasing again to 32% from 26. From 26.
Within just 2 years?
2 years, because that is 2007, 2008.
Okay.
Debt to GDP ratio went up again to 32% from 26 it was in the year 2006. And that wasn't a very good feedback to some of us, because we were thinking that once it was 182, and somebody has come to cancel all the debt. Most part of it, not all, I shouldn't say all, but the most part of the debt was cancelled. And so once most part of your debt has cancelled, that was the time you needed to sit down, think about how you could sustain the situation you had. In other words, creating more revenues and trying to cut the loopholes, the leakages, financial leakages, judiciously use what you have so you could, stop debt accumulation.
Right.
But it didn't happen. The year 2007, our debt to GDP ratio went up. It went up again to 32 in the year 2008 to suggest that you have been forgiven, but you were still spending more than you were generating, and so you were still accumulating debt. 2006, 2007, 2008, we accumulated. So we moved from 26 to 32, 6 percentage points difference. And those were the days we have Fifi Kwete. I love him for that. He was doing something he called setting the record straight. And you will see him always hitting the government hard for this reckless expenditure. Anytime your debt to GDP ratio goes up, politicians refer to it as reckless expenditure. I may not do so until I get to know why it moved up.
Right.
But in Ghana, anytime it goes up, people describe it as reckless expenditure. But it's not always, reckless. When it goes up, it's not automatically reckless. Something could push it up beyond your control. That is not recklessness. But that's how we call it. And so when they talked about that, the anticipation...
Hello. Doc. Yes, kindly try and wrap up the history for us.
The history. And that answers all the questions. Before I finish, I would have answered the whole question.
Right.
Yeah, so what I'm trying to say is that when we heard this from Fifi Kwete and the others, we were all then looking forward to see a new NDC government that will come and cut the expenditure and increase revenue so they don't accumulate debt. But before we could say that, by the year 2014, our debt has reached unsustainable level again, 71%. The year 2014, from the 32, from 26 to 32 that we spoke about, from that is 26 in 2006 to 32 in 2008. That NDC complained when they came, and they also had opportunity before we could say that, hey, it ballooned to 71 by the year 2014, and so by the year 2015 it was 72.8, and we had to run to an IMF again to ask them to help us manage our debt situation. Now, when we went there, some debt relief, but not so significant, I should say. But it started working, and so when Nana Akufo-Addo came in 2006, all the figures that I'm talking about are in 2006 concern prices. Then the year 2017, Ghana's debt to GDP ratio declined for the first time since 2006, because since 2006 that it was 26, it was always going up until it hit 73.1% at the end of 2016. And so we were in debt crisis 2014, 2015, 2016. 2017, our debt to GDP ratio declined for the first time since 2006 to 68.9%. And again, when we saw that, we were all happy, especially the following year, 2018, the debt to GDP ratio went further down to 66. But that same year, we rebased our economy. When you rebase your economy, we moved from 2006 concern prices to 2013 concern prices. That's another day we may want to discuss what is the meaning of the rebasing. But anytime you rebase, your economy becomes bigger. And so indeed, 2018, Ghanaian economy became 24.2% bigger. And for which reason your debt to GDP ratio became very small. And so the debt to GDP ratio that would have been 73.1% in the year 2016, if you go back in 2013 concern price, and that's the same concern prices that we are using, it declined to 56%.
In 2018?
And this 56% didn't go up so much because I think we did very well. We were controlling, the expenditure 2017, 2018, 2019. And so by the end of 2019, our total debt to GDP ratio was 62.1 in the new series, 2013 concern price. And so we thought we were there. Everybody was happy that this time we are managing our debt. The debt accumulation is so good. But we entered 2020, and my brother, before we could say that our debt to GDP ratio that has been managed around 62.5% balloon that particular year to 76. The year 2020, that was very bad year, because that year Ghana government had planned to spend 185 billion, and the total revenue that they were anticipating was 66 billion. Unfortunately, at the end of the year, because of COVID, they overspent. They spent up to 104 billion, and the total revenue they could generate only 55. And so you had a revenue gap, expenditure gap of 49 billion you needed to sell. And so the government borrowed. And that is what plunged the country back to debt crisis. And so our debt to GDP ratio hit 76, far above the 70% threshold. And when we were there, by the year 2021, the end of 2021, the debt has become serious. It has moved almost to 78, and it was not getting better. Let me speak this in dollars, so sometimes when you bring the debt to cities, you are not able to account for depreciation, and that becomes a bit misleading. But dollar is more stable compared to cedi.
Right.
Our total debt stock at the end of the year 2021 in dollars was 60 billion. And so when Ken Oforiatta saw this, he said, no, this is danger. We can't pay, in terms of debt to GDP ratio, you were doing over 78, and the debt was 60 billion US dollars. That was huge for a small country like Ghana. So they started then doing what we call debt restructuring. Debt restructuring, in P, we say, ukotituka. So you have a plan, you've gone for money from someone, and the plans are that at the end of every period, a certain period, you are going to pay A, B, C. And now the debt restructuring, you are then telling them that unfortunately because of your situation now, you can't do that. So either the person would cut the debt or will rearrange the debt payments for you. And so that was exactly what we did. And we did this on 4 debt category, components. We did number one was the local debt. The local bond, we have individuals who buy Ghana government bond, and we call them local bond holders. Most of them are foreigners who come here to buy, and some firms in Ghana, banks, individuals, and corporate entities also buy Ghana government bond. And so Ghana government did what we call debt exchange program on 20.3 billion US dollars. And when they did that, so many people lost, it was very bad. Let me not try to remind those who lost money, their money through this exercise. But that exercise was good for the country. To the individuals, it was bad, but to the country, it was good. So it gave Ghana government that kind of space, because you were supposed to pay ABC to the bondholders, and now you are rearranged. In fact, the coupons, the average coupon for Ghana government bond was 20%. It was reduced drastically to 10%, And so with all these arrangements, Ghana government had so much, and our debt started going down. Another one was Eurobond. We had taken up to 13.1 billion from the European bond market. And again, we negotiated with them, and they forgave us 4.7 billion unconditionally. They cut it. And so when they did all this, our total debt stock that hit 60 billion at the end of 2021, by the end of 2024, it has declined to 49 billion. I'm going to show you this. I'll share a document with you. Maybe you want to project it one day on the television.
Sure.
And those who are listening to me, you can go online, Google, Big Push on 28 March this year. 28 March this year, the Finance Minister, Honorable Ato Forson, presented the document to Parliament, and it was titled Big Push. Page 33 of that particular document, page 33, you see a table there where in the dollar, you see how our debt went to 60. The last column, the last row, you see the at the end of 2021, Ghana's debt hit 60 billion, and it started coming down because of debt restructuring, because of kind of debt restructuring. I'm not doing politics, but that's actually what happened. And so by the end of 2024, our debt had come down to 49 billion because of the debt cancellations. You know, and when, in fact, March 2025, about 2.5 billion was even cancelled. And recently, if we heard about, and that is bilateral, the bilateral one is the one between Ghana and other countries. Recently, we heard France cancelling Ghana's debt, I think up to the tune of 87 million euros, around that figure. Macron, canceled that debt. So those negotiations started drawing kind of a real test time on the bilateral, that is between Ghana and another country. Multilateral, between Ghana and other, so they didn't do multilateral, sorry. Multilateral, the World Bank, IMF, African Development Bank, and they didn't do that. But they did it on bilateral, Ghana and other countries, and then Eurobond, commercial, and then the domestic. And because of these, our debt has come down again, just like it happened in 2006. Our debt has come down again. By the end of April, our total debt stock in dollars had declined to 44 because of the debt restructuring. And so our debt to GDP ratio today is about 43.8%. And so Ghana is doing very well. Very well. And it is significantly because of the debt restructuring. People have said that it's because of the value of the cedi. Cedi is also doing so well since the 10th April, when $1 was going for 14 cedis 90 pesos. We have seen cedi performing strongly. By the end of May, cedi was 10 cedis 30 pesos was going for $1. And it has remained so. Today, it is around 10 cedis 80 pesos. So cedi has done so well. And therefore, if you quote Ghana's debt in cedis, it has come down because of the depreciation of dollar. Right. But that is a bit misleading, and I always don't want to go there. The substance or the main reason why our debt has come down is the debt restructuring. Because quoting the total debt stock in another currency, and because your currency has gained value. And that makes your debt look smaller. It doesn't mean anything.
It's artificial.
The substantial money that you pay is already there. It doesn't matter quoting it in one another currency. And that's what I'm talking about, that we have seen the total debt in dollar declining from 60 billion it was at the end of 2021 to 44 billion at the end of April this year. And that has helped the country. Again, it wasn't only about this. Because the debt restructuring, it wasn't only about debt forgiveness, it was also about payment. And so most of what we are supposed to pay 2025, 2026 have been suspended to 2027 and beyond. Yeah. And so that is why today our economy we are doing so well, because most of what we would have taken dollars, pounds, euros to pay, we are not paying. We are not paying. the stock. We are not paying. And so that has helped us. But the question is, in the year 2027, which will definitely come, when you would have to now pay your debt in full, when you have to pay your debt, you have to honor all your debt obligations in full. Are you ready? How far have you been able to increase the revenue sources this year or next year to help you stay afloat? That is the concerns at IMF and World Bank and everybody is raising. Because what is happening, it did not happen because Ghana, we did anything special. You went and begged, and the people listened to you and they canceled the debt. That does not mean you have done anything special. Now the question is, what are you doing today so 2027, when you have to pay all your debt, you honor all your debt obligations in full in terms of interest payment and amortization, are you prepared to do that? That is the question we are asking. And look at this, business as usual, we are not prepared. We are not prepared. We are not prepared. And what happened in 2026 is likely to happen because now 2026, our debt to GDP ratio declined to 26. But it went up again to 76, 78, 2021. And so today when it is around 43, and you are not doing anything so special about your expenditure, about all that, then you have a problem. And so this answers the question that are we currently borrowing for production or to pay debt? Currently, Ghana government is borrowing more from the internal source of the treasury bill. That has become the main, source of borrowing to Ghana government. They are borrowing so much, but the borrowing so much, yes, you are right. If you say growth, then we are looking at how much is being spent on what we call CAPEX, capital expenditure. Is government borrowing to build roads? Is government borrowing for investment? That is what we call growth.
Right. So, Doc, from where you sit, how much of our borrowing actually translates into growth, really?
Unfortunately, if you pick the total expenditure, you see that the recurrent is almost about 90%. The CAPEX, the capital expenditure, is always very small. And the capital expenditure is what is more, that is the future. Of course, the recurrent, it doesn't mean that the recurrent is also not about growth. It is, but that is the usual. For example, Jordan said the recurrent is about salaries being paid. So Ghana government pays my salaries. If I'm not paid, I may not be able to deliver, or I may not even be able to go to school. And so all those recurrent, in a way, also impact on growth. But the literature tells us that the important reason why economies grow, more than the usual, is the capital expenditure. How much money is government spending on irrigation, for example? Ghana has become, our agriculture for many years has depended so much on rainfall, when in other countries, that's not what is happening. We have water flowing from the north all the way to the sea, and we are not making good use of it. How much is government spending, for example, to irrigate the land? So farmers can farm all year around, and then rice, we spend over 2 billion every year importing food. So if farmers get opportunity to farm all year around, I'm sure this import will go down, and in the process, you create job for the people. That is the growth. Are we very serious there? Thank God, this government, under their 24-hour program, they have what they called, the agriculture one. The name has escaped me. I know Make Ghana, Grow Ghana. Grow Ghana is for the industry. I've forgotten the name, but they have a component on the agricultural sector where they are thinking about irrigating the lands around, farmlands around Volta, to help farmers farm all year around. And that is, to me,
I think it's Grow 24.
Good. You say?
I think it's Grow 24. So. Okay.
Then that is excellent. We are just hoping we can work with it. Unfortunately, if you ask me whether we can do it without being pessimistic, I will tell you that we may not be able to do it. Why? Because that document, the 24-hour document, so beautifully written, and it's not better than what Rawlings did. 1996, Rawlings did what he called Vision 2020. So good, and he started implementing from January 1996. Kufuor came, threw it away, started what he called Ghana Poverty Reduction Strategy under the HIPIC, and later Growth and Poverty Reduction Strategy. Atamis came with Ghana's Shared Growth Development Agenda 1. Mills continue, Mahama continue with Ghana Growth Development Agenda 2, Ghana Shared Growth Development Agenda 2, and Akufo-Addo came with another one. The name is so long that I struggle to remember, but it was out of that we had Ghana Beyond Aid Agenda.
Right.
All these beautiful documents, all those things were in there that we have to strategize to irrigate the land, to empower our farmers to farm all year round, to cut food imports, to create jobs for the people, and to grow the economy. Unfortunately, they will write it so beautifully, and at the end of the day, you don't see much coming out of it. I'm just hoping this will be a different one. Otherwise, your question, are we borrowing for growth? I don't think so. Ghana government has to borrow because now our expenditure is always far above our revenue, and so they have to borrow so they can pay workers. They have to borrow so they can keep the recurrent expenditure. That's what that's what even benefits the politicians.
Right.
You know, to be able to keep the recurrent expenditure where it should be. But the focus has always not been on the capex. That is the infrastructure. And so we have huge infrastructure deficit. That is also adversely affecting us. Growth.
Doc, very, very interesting things. And I have lost some hope here, but maybe you would help me in some way. But I mean, of course, debt accumulation has spanned multiple governments, NPP, NDC, and what have you. Is Ghana's debt problem more about economics or about politics and the lack of fiscal discipline from where you sit? What exactly is the problem?
So the problem is just that, my brother, we are not able to generate enough. So the two main problems. Number one, we are not generating enough. There are so many individuals working in this country who don't pay tax. And unfortunately, our opposition, anytime our governments are in opposition, they support the agenda that nobody should pay tax. It's only when they come to government that... Because, I mean, NDC spoke so much against taxes. They even told Ghanaians that when Atofosson was being vetted, he said that we can create more resources, you don't need to rely on taxes. You know, there are so many ways to create resources. But when he came, what is he doing? 8 taxes have been affected. They have either introduced new or increased existing rates for 8 good taxes. But they were able to remove only 2. The other, betting tax, and then, what was it? Yield levy. Yeah, yield levy was more of a universal because so many people were engaged in that activity. But when you talk about betting taxes, how many Ghanaians are involved with betting? So if you reduce it, and in this place you bring D levy, that is affecting everybody. As for D levy, it affects every Ghanaian. If you don't have a car, you definitely use a car. Even if you don't use a car, you go and buy. And people who buy and sell, if you go to my village there, in Ahafo region, and you go there to buy. Anytime transport, fares go up, those who go to Kumasi to buy and sell, they increase prices of their goods. Yeah. You know, and so that one affects everybody. So you have brought that one, and that was huge compared even to yield levy. But when they were in opposition, they made it clear to every guy, because people don't want to pay taxes, and that's not only unique to Ghana. That's a human nature. Nobody will want to pay tax. And so if you are in opposition and you tell me that when you come to power, I will not pay tax, I will vote for you. And that's what has been happening. I quite remember somewhere in 1998 when Rawlings was having serious problem with the sales taxes, and they decided to replace sales taxes with VAT, value-added tax. It became a problem. MPP then in opposition organized what they called Kumi Prekun, Yemi Prekun, and people were shot, people died through this. But eventually, when MPP came, did they move the VAT back to sales tax? No. They rather increased the tax rate they came to meet with VAT. And so as a country, I think we are not serious people. We are not. And unfortunately, the masses are also too political and so ignorant. Anything the politicians say to us, we take it. And especially, we love our parties so much that it doesn't matter whether they're even going wrong. No, we support it. And so that is what has become of us. And we don't know whether taxes is bad or good. But I tell you, payment of taxes is excellent, because the last time I remember when manna rained was when the people of Israel were moving from Egypt to the promised land.
Yeah.
Manna doesn't rain anymore. And it is your taxes that you have to use to develop
the country.
If you are not able to generate more, then you definitely be forced to go and borrow. And that's exactly what is happening to us. So many people are in this country, they don't pay taxes. I've been talking about when I was building my house, all the people who came here to work. They were charging me at workmanship. Sometimes I would engage about 20 of them, masons and their assistants. They will all come, you pay them, nobody pays tax. Recently, somebody came to work on my grounds here, and the person charged me 8,000. You have to cough and pay the 8,000 to this individual. Workmanship.
And he doesn't pay any tax on that.
No tax. So many people are working, they are not paying tax.
Right.
And this thing doesn't happen abroad. If you go abroad and you even go to clean somebody's room, the person will never give you cash. They will pay it through a system that the government can take their tax. And so we don't want to do that, because if a government begins to do this, it will be so good. The one in opposition would definitely stand against it because of political expediency. And so we are not serious people. And I think that's why politics has become so important for avenue to make money, because now you see you are in opposition. Leave Ghana out. Say what the people want to hear. Get your power. Once you get your power and you come to power, you get money. And so the development of the country, the politicians don't think so much about development of the country. It's about getting power. Once you get power, you get your money. Forget about what people will say. Otherwise, both opposition political parties and the government, they should all agree on the best way to generate more money from Ghana. And so I talked about 2 points. One is that we are not generating enough
revenue. Yeah.
The second one is corruption. The second one is prudent. We are not able to make prudent use of the resources that we generate. The leakages are so many. I'm yet to meet a former poor a minister. We always talk about footballers, black star footballers who have been so poor, actors, and we mentioned so many people, lecturers. I know lecturers some of those who taught me, and they are now about 80 years, 70 years struggling. No money, they are struggling. But you hardly will see a former politician who is poor. They go there within the twinkling of an eye, they become so rich. And so the leakages are so many. Now it is almost becoming acceptable that, this kickback or back kick or whatever they call it, is almost becoming, and all of them do it. All of them do it. The only one who does it is the one who has been exposed. Otherwise, that is, even as we are speaking, the negotiations are going on between somebody who has to render a service to Ghana government and what the person will pay to the head of that agency. This has become almost normal. As a Ghanaian, and as a researcher, I have data on all this. Recently, I did something with Manchester University on firms, the growth of firms in Ghana. And it became obvious that politically related, firms do better. That is the firms that have a political kind of affiliation. And even if you publicly you've not come out to say you are aligned to this political party, as a business person in this country, if you want to succeed, you have to during campaign you have to give them so much money.
Yeah.
Otherwise, when they come to power, they will come after you. They will destroy your business.
Right.
And I'm wondering, why would you want to destroy somebody's business? The business that is growing Ghana, the business that will make Ghana develop. And because that person didn't help you, you come and your attention is to destroy that business. Then you don't like Ghana.
We are our own enemies.
I met big businessmen. I spoke to them, and they confessed that they during campaign time they spent so much, especially on the two leading political parties, MPP and NDC, because one of them would definitely win, and you need to spend so much on them. If you don't do it, when they will come after you. And so if you live in an environment like this, there's no hope. I mean, and every day new things happen to tell me that there's no hope for Ghana.
Wow, Doc. All right, Doc, our time is up. Maybe if you permit me, we'll just extend for a few minutes before we go. But I mean, from whatever you've shared now, it's obvious that the big problem is politics. Beyond any other thing, the big problem is politics, really. And there is so much that we have to do. You've talked about revenue mobilization. My question was going to be why we struggled so much with mobilizing the revenue domestically. But of course, it goes back to politics. You talk about corruption, it goes back to politics. And so, the whole thing is so much. But what should be the way forward, Doc? Really, before we can get out of these things that we are seeing.
The way forward is that international communities should stop assessing us when we have problems.
But we'll suffer too.
World Bank, they should stop and leave us.
But we'll suffer, Doc.
Yeah, that is good. That would be good for us. Because it's as if, because we know that at 2006, they cancel your debt, and things were so good for you. And today they have done the same thing. Since 2021 to date, almost every year, they've been canceling our debt. And this is where we are. This is where we are. In fact, the recent media review when that Honorable Finance Minister Atoforsen did, he was even telling Ghana that it is because of the new good policies that he has introduced that has created the fiscal space, which was not true. And so right away you definitely get, so all the debt cancellation, and he has submitted a paper to Parliament, page 33 of that particular document. And that was on 28 March, as I said.
Yeah.
Page 33, the document is entitled Big Push. Page 33 of that document, you have a table where how debt restructuring has contributed in the debt, in the reduction of our debt, is clearly spelled out there. In the document he has signed. Then he goes back to Parliament during media review to tell Ghana that the debt that has come down is because of the policies he has initiated. Then I asked myself, what was this policy? They said it's fiscal consolidation. And fiscal consolidation, as far as I understand, and that is truly what it means, is that if you are able to expand your revenue and inflows revenue network, if you increase your revenue mobilization effort to rake in more money, whilst you also prudently use what you have, that is debt, fiscal consolidation. And I was wondering, a government that started, we shouldn't forget that the first 3 months, whatever budget that, whatever thing that we saw, it was a Kufuor's budget. That's what the law says.
Yeah. And
our Kufuor's budget started working from 1st April. And with April, May, June, he comes to say that the debt has come down and all the fiscal space that we see is because of his effort. Then you see, so the politicians are not ready to tell the truth. And when they lie, the followers are always ready to accept the lie. Nobody challenges them, especially the media. You call them, they speak, and you clap for them. I wish a media person, and I was on TV3 with Alfredo Kansi, telling the whole world that finance minister lied about the fiscal space. He lied about the fiscal space. The fiscal consolidation would rather prevent debt accumulation. It doesn't clear the debt that is there. If he says because if you convert the debt to CDs, it has gone down because of the gain, the appreciation of CD over dollar, then that one he's right. But that one, your main debt has not gone down. It is only in terms of cedi. And to me, we don't even speak like that. So look at your dollar, and then you have presented the paper that you have indicated, presented of that paper why the debt is going down, which is so clear. And then you go to Parliament to say something that is different, and right away you get to know that politicians are always there to position themselves to the electorate that we have done ABC, when
right.
actually they have not done that. When they do wrong, no, they haven't done anything wrong. When they have not done anything right, they did it. And so it's all about this game. It's all about this game, and it's not ending. Nobody is so. And what I became so annoyed on when I was on TV3. I was talking about why have we left honesty somewhere? We are not honest people. And then 1st July, we have declared this day as a day of national pride, and everybody goes there in white. You can't mock God. So, my brother, I think what would help is that the international community, they should leave us. When we find ourselves deep into the debt crisis, this will leave us to struggle. And when we struggle and hit back to the ordinary person, we will get to know why we are where we are, and that will begin to, push us out of we've slept for so long. So people will become conscious of why certain things happen. Otherwise, anytime anything happens, they come to our aid, they help, and even an individual would go to Parliament to take credit of something that was initiated long ago by Ken Ofori-Atta. And that day, I felt so bad when he read his media review, because Ken Ofori-Atta's domestic debt restructuring contributed to the fiscal space. And you were on the floor of the Parliament accusing him for doing that exercise, the very exercise that has brought the relief. And then for the relief side, you took the credit, and you were reminding Ghanaians how horrible Ken Ofori-Atta was for doing what has brought us to where we are.
So it's just mere politics.
No honesty.
Right.
The honesty is not that. I wish Atufo is on this call and the two of us are debating this. I want that. I have been challenging this. I told TV3. I want him. He's here. I'm here. And then we are able to make it clear to the whole Ghana what is actually behind the fall in the debt.
So, one of the issues that you mentioned is the ignorance of the masses, because these things that you are talking about are very revealing, and I'm sure that our listeners are getting some eye-opening moments right now on some of the things that you talk about. So, there's a lot of education that must be done. Who is in charge of such education, Doc? From where? I don't know whether you have an idea.
Yeah, so. If you come to University of Ghana and you are being given your appointment letter, one of the things that we are told to do is to engage the community in which we live, and that is to say Ghana on your expertise. So if you are a medical doctor, if you are an economist, a sociologist, whatever that you do, whatever research that you do, you have to share it with the public. And that's why when you call me, I've answered to your call, because I research into public sector economic issues, and I teach public. This year at the University of Ghana, I taught 4 different courses that are all public sector economic related. And so 1 at the PhD level, 3 at the various master, levels. And so don't leave what you say only in class. Come out and tell the people. Unfortunately, again, because we lack honesty, some politicians come to pay us to speak for them.
Right.
And we have seen this, where the professor, the doctor from this university, UDS, KNUST, UCC, Legon, UPSA, they came out and paraded paraded themselves as academics, and rather spoke for their political parties.
Their political parties.
And sometimes you even meet some of these guys on set, and they will rather, when they know the assignment that they are doing, they will rather come after you and tell the whole world that what you are saying is rather the lies. I have met, a couple of them. And sometimes after the studio, I have to engage these people. But that what at all? I believe in one thing. Bible says, if you gain the whole world and you lose
your soul,
you are soul.
Mm.
And we will all die. You know, after the death, as a Christian, I believe that we will be accountable to whatever that we say.
Absolutely.
On earth.
Mm.
And I have been telling my people, if you go to my social media and my Facebook wall, this is what I've been preaching. Honesty. That this honesty is so much, and so those who are supposed to educate, they have already been compromised. So they come up to lie.
All
and
right.
that's what we are saying. Tell me if I'm lying. That's what we are saying.
That's true. That's true.
That's what we are saying. And so now I'm taking it from my own side. Those of us in the academia, we are liars. Yeah. We are very political. The clergy, they have also become so political. the clergy, because they have to speak for somebody for them to get Toyota Land Cruiser Prado. And so the clergy, men of God, some people also parade in the name of God. And that's why when we are going to have elections, you see the same God telling A that party B is winning, and the same God will go and tell B that party C is winning, which is not so. The God that I believe is God of honesty. God will not go and say this here and say another thing there. So it tells you that either the two are lying or one of them is lying.
Doc,
that's what we have seen. And when we push them, the chiefs, they're not supposed to do politics, but they are also very political.
Yeah.
So you see, we need to pray to God.
We have a big problem. We have a big problem. Right. But Doc, before we go, just before we go, maybe my last question to you. So, I mean, you are in academia, and I know that there's so much that the literature says. There's so much that we can do. I want to know if you had the ear of the finance minister, devoid of any political, any politics or anything, what 3 practical steps would you recommend that we take immediately to ensure that our borrowing is genuinely for growth or just for survival? And that is one of my questions. But before you come to that, which would be that would be my final question to you. Before you come to that, I know that there are countries like Rwanda, Botswana, who are our African peers, and they've been able to manage their debt relatively prudently over the years. What lessons can we learn from them? And then now you can come to the final question.
So let me go to the last one. What lesson can we learn from Rwanda? I don't think they don't have any good lesson that we can learn, because Rwanda is a country. They got to where they were not because of anything, but it was because during the war, a lot of them were killed. So if you go there today, the population of the women is far higher than the men. Most of the men were killed. Most of them had to run away, And so what happened during the Civil War has taught them so much lesson. And that is why when Kigami says, hey, everybody is afraid. But we have not gone through that situation. Rolling Star, we saw some after of that, but immediately afterwards, what happened in the early 1980s, this corruption thing started, And so Rwanda, I'm even afraid, in absence of Paul Kagame, because it's not the institutions that are driving what is happening. It's somebody's personality.
Right.
I'm just hoping after him,
it sustains.
They will keep to, the protocols that they have been observing to get the country to where it is. Because over there, I hear corruption is something that you don't want to hear about. A while ago, I had opportunity to go to Germany, Berlin, for a conference, and I met the special prosecutor from Rwanda. I sat on the same table with her, and we talked a lot. And, a young lady who had just completed her PhD, and you could see that over there it's very easy to control people to do what is right compared to Ghana.
Yeah.
Compared to Ghana. Because the people in Ghana, who is even going to control? because the clergy, the academics, almost all of us, we become part of what this corruption thing. And so it becomes very difficult. Who is there? Who? I mean, why the Ghana to push this agenda forward? I mean, most of what we say are just for political rhetoric and all those things, right. Political optics, and you don't see the substance of the whole thing happening. Now, coming back to how do we generate more revenue? I have said it countless number of occasions that many Ghanaians don't want to pay taxes because of the corruption. They saw this gentleman who didn't have anything, who entered politics 2 months, 1 month, 1 year, has become so rich. And so when it happens like that, and the businessmen, when they get to know, I mean, we live in the same houses, same communities, and we know what is happening. You know, salaries of ministers, you can just Google and get to know how much ministers receive as salaries. And so if within a twinkling of an eye, they become so rich, it discourages people from doing what is right, that is paying taxes, you know. And so we have to check. And that is why when you are becoming a minister, you're supposed to declare your assets. And so at a point, if we see you have more than enough, then we want to know why you had more than enough.
More than enough, right.
Do we genuinely declare our assets? Most of, because the country, the way it is, people may have so many things that are not documented, you know. And so even the day we declare our assets, we display dishonesty. And that is to tell you that most of the things that we have in our books, law books, are just charade. Let's do things to represent things.
Yeah.
Otherwise, see genuinely, and I was talking about the fact that this year, a particular guy, very intelligent. I'm talking about Honorable Dr. Mutala, had to graduate with PhD.
Yeah.
And I went at the Great Hall of the University of Ghana. I called him. We had healthy discussions. Then was this 6th August? That,
6th August.
I had gone to Parliament to see one another person, not him anyway, when the news broke that this is what has happened. In fact, right away, I lost my key. I didn't know where I could find my key. It was so painful to lose such an intelligent person. And all those people. So, so painful. And so on my Facebook wall, I immediately started talking to Ghanaians that this is what is going to become of us. I mean, we all go. In fact, even if we don't die today, tomorrow we will definitely go. I mean, in the next 100 years, I don't think any of us will be alive.
Yeah.
If we will find some of us alive, it will be only few, maybe about one, because Ghana today, the population, adult population, only 4 out of every 100 are able to cross over 65 years. And only 7 out of every 100 Ghanaians are 60 years and above.
Right.
That is to tell you that we all die. Most of us will die. And for every 100 Ghanaians, 93 will die before age 60. And so we need to know that after displaying all this dishonesty, if we are disingenuous, whatever that we do, it's going to end in the grave. The day you die, all the thousands, Land Cruisers, story building, and all that you have automatically become somebody else.
Right.
Your children, if you are not even careful, your children will give them away to their girlfriends, and their girlfriends will give them away to their boyfriends. So all that you labored for will be in vain.
Right.
And that's why in Bible, vanity upon vanity. The psalmist was talking about vanity upon vanity. All is vanity. It's not easy. It's not easy. But I think if we want to look up to God, the Muslims looking up to Allah, those of us who believe in Christian God, looking up to Christian God, and the other traditionalists looking up to Otuedi Ampon. If we begin to know that we are whatever that we are doing, we are going to die one day, and we begin to see that at the end of our death there is accountability.
Yeah.
I'm sure this will push us to do what is right.
To do something better.
Right. Otherwise, my brother, It's
We won't
difficult.
be able to go anywhere. Doc, thank you very much. It's been a very insightful conversation, and I mean, like I said, it's been very revealing some of the things that you've said. But it's obvious that there's a lot of work that we have to do. As individuals and as a country, in terms of even our moral fiber, which probably will be the root, according to you, Doc. So thank you very much for your time. Really, really grateful for the insights. I hope that we have further conversations, because there's so much to unpack in this particular conversation. I wanted us to look at the IMF program and to talk about some other things, but because of our time, we'll end it here. But I'm really grateful that you made time to join me.
Thank you for having me, my brother.
All right. Please enjoy the rest of your day. All right, and that was Dr. George Domfe. He's a development economist at the University of Ghana. And today's conversation has been very, very, very insightful. It's been a great conversation. I believe that you've gotten some value. You've got to see how things are happening in this country and where we've come from in terms of our debt levels and where we are today, and what exactly is the root cause and what we need to deal with. I hope that you add your voice to the conversations around these matters, and I hope that you are able to also, in your own little way, contribute to solving the problem. But really, really grateful that you made time to join us this morning, right from 6:15 till now. We've extended a bit, but forgive us, and I hope that helped in several ways. My name is Nitra B. Hammond. We are back again tomorrow for more interesting conversations. Please do well to take very good care of yourself and make sure that we hold our politicians accountable, and we do well as a country and as a people. Until tomorrow, please enjoy the rest of your day. And when you think Ghana, please think Z. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.